Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're dropping into a really specific, quite intense moment.
Hmm.
We've got an excerpt here titled Requiem, and it's pretty clearly the final scene of a play.
Yeah, definitely feels like the end, like the curtain call almost, but within the story itself.
Right, the very last look at a story that's just wrapped up.
Exactly. And the stage directions, they paint a stark picture, don't they? It's dark, we're at a graveside,
Yeah,
and the people there are Linda, her sons, Biff and Happy, and then Charlie, their neighbor. It really feels like we're arriving right at the end, you know?
right, just as that final chapter closes. So for everyone joining us on this deep dive, our mission here is to really kind of unpack this immediate aftermath. We want to understand how these characters are dealing with what's just happened, obviously a death, and what their reactions, even this really brief scene, tell us about their relationships and, the life that just ended.
Okay.
Okay, so let's dive right in, that initial atmosphere. What hit me straight away was Linda, her lack of reaction almost.
Yeah. She's just standing there, while Biff and Happy are already trying to get her to move, saying the cemetery gates are closing soon.
Right.
That detail, that kind of ticking clock of the everyday world intruding, it feels really significant, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Linda's stillness there,
Yeah.
it speaks volumes, I think. Could be shock,
Okay.
like a buffer against something too painful.
Yeah.
And you're right, that practical thing, the gate closing, it forces us to see that, well, even in these huge personal moments, the world just keeps going.
Keeps turning.
Yeah, it's a sharp reminder of sort of private grief meeting public reality.
That Happy just explodes, that line. He had no right to do that. There was no necessity for it. We would have helped him. Wow, that just hangs there.
Mm-hmm.
What does that immediate anger, that feeling it could have been avoided, what does that suggest to you about the death itself?
Well, it strongly implies it wasn't natural, right?
Yeah.
That forcefulness, the no necessity, the idea they could have stepped in, points pretty clearly towards a deliberate act, probably suicide.
Yeah. His anger, sure, it's grief, definitely.
Yeah.
But maybe also like a layer of guilt, you
Yeah.
know, what if? Or maybe even feeling betrayed by his father's choice.
And Linda's reaction is so different. She seems almost lost, asking, why didn't anybody come?
Yeah.
And worrying if people will blame him. It's like she's in a fog, can't quite grasp that it's final.
Yeah.
And she says, almost offhand, it seems to me that you're just on another trip. That feels like such a disconnect.
Oh, absolutely. Her questions, her statements, they show this deep struggle to process it.
Right.
The on another trip idea,
Mm.
maybe that speaks to his life, you know? A traveling salesman, her mind might be falling back on that familiar pattern. His absence is just temporary. It's a coping thing, isn't it?
A defense mechanism.
Yeah, like denial, that
Yeah.
first stage of grief where your mind just fights accepting the truth.
Then Charlie steps in. Very matter of fact, almost world weary. It's a rough world, Linda. They wouldn't blame him.
Yeah.
It's such a contrast to the family's raw emotion.
Yeah.
What do you make of his sort of detached view?
Charlie brings in this voice of pragmatic realism, maybe shaped by experience, you know, seeing how the world works.
Okay.
He's not dismissing her pain, I don't think, but he's offering a kind of societal counterpoint to her worry about judgment.
Right.
It shows how different people process grief, try to find some logic in the chaos, and it does kind of subtly hint that, yeah, people might judge, even while he's reassuring her they won't.
Then Linda says something that
Mhm.
just hits you right here.
Yeah.
First time in 35 years, we were just about free and clear.
Oh, yeah.
He only needed a little salary. He was even finished with the dentist. It just paints this picture, doesn't it? A whole life struggling financially, and they were right there.
Right on the edge.
That detail about the dentist, those small everyday things finally sorted, it's so poignant.
It really is.
And then Charlie's response, no man only needs a little salary. Whoa.
Yeah.
There's like a whole philosophy packed in that one line, isn't there? About desire, ambition.
Absolutely. Linda's words just hammer home the tragic irony of the timing. Decades of strain, about to get easier, and then this makes the loss feel even more senseless from her view.
Yeah.
And you're right about Charlie's reply. It challenges that whole idea of just needing the basics. He seems to be saying, look, people always want more, aspire to more than just getting by.
Suggesting Willie felt pressures beyond just money.
Exactly. Pressures maybe Linda didn't fully see, or maybe pressures that weren't just about the bills. Her focus on this milestone, being free and clear, now feels like this brutal comment on a system where you struggle for years and the win feels empty, highlights the human cost.
Then Biff, he shifts things. He starts listing These very tangible memories of Willie.
Mm-hmm.
Making the stoop, finishing the cellar, putting on the new porch, building things. Physical stuff he did with his hands.
Right, the practical achievement.
And Charlie backs him up. He was a happy man with a batch of cement. It's a completely different picture of Willie than the one we're getting through the lens of his death, isn't it?
It really is. Biff's memories give us this glimpse of another side of Willie, a guy who maybe found real satisfaction in concrete work, in building tangible things.
Yeah.
Which stands in a pretty stark contrast to the abstract world of selling things, maybe less fulfilling, ultimately. And Charlie agreeing, it reinforces that, yeah, there were times Willie was content, maybe in those simpler hands-on moments.
But then Biff just pivots. And it's a brutal take.
Yeah.
He had the wrong dreams. All wrong. He never knew who he was.
Yeah.
And Happy immediately jumps in, defending their dad, saying he had the right idea, wanting to be #1 man.
Right, the ambition.
This feels like the absolute core of the conflict here, this fundamental clash over what Willie's life, his dreams were actually worth. What's this fight between the brothers telling us?
This is where the central tragedy around Willie just crystallizes, isn't it? Biff seems to have reached this really harsh conclusion that his dad chased the wrong kind of success and it messed him up.
Yeah, chasing an illusion, the American dream gone wrong.
Yeah. Exactly, a false ideal. But Happy seems totally invested in proving his dad's ambition was right. Maybe to justify his dad's life, maybe their own upbringing.
Or maybe he still believes in it himself.
Could be. This massive difference in how they see their father. It's definitely going to shape where they go next, you'd think.
And then Charlie delivers that incredible speech. Just powerful. Nobody dasplain this man. A salesman has got a dream, boy. It comes with the territory.
Such a key moment.
He talks about how shaky that life is, being a salesman. Your whole worth tied up in a smile, a shoe shine, intangible stuff.
Yeah.
And how losing that feeling, that perceived value, can just destroy you. It gives such crucial context, doesn't it? For why Willie might have felt so lost, so desperate.
It really does. Charlie's speech gives us this sociological lens to see Willie through.
Yeah.
He spells out the unique vulnerability in jobs where your self-worth is totally tangled up with what other people think of you.
External validations.
Exactly. And how precarious that makes your identity. It feels existential when that validation disappears. He's basically saying, look, Willie was partly a product of his job, of the system, a system that pushes a certain dream and causes a certain kind of pain when it falls apart.
But Biff isn't buying it. He just repeats, Charlie the man didn't know who he was.
Still holding on to that.
Yeah. And this leads to Biff pleading with, Happy, come with me, let's leave, start something different.
Right. Get out.
But Happy, no way. He's digging in. I'm staying right in this city, and I'm going to beat this racket. The Lohman brothers.
Wow. Doubling down.
He really feels like they're at a fork in the road, doesn't it? Heading in completely opposite directions. What does that split signify, do you think?
Totally. Biff seems to have gained this critical distance. He sees the flaws in his dad's dream, or what he thinks are flaws, and wants to build his own identity, his own success differently. Wanting to leave suggests rejecting the whole environment, the values he thinks brought his dad down. Happy, though. He seems determined to make his father's vision work. Maybe it's how he deals with the grief, the guilt. Or maybe he genuinely still believes in that #1 man dream.
And the Lohman brothers.
Yeah.
It's like he's embracing the very thing Biff is running from.
Exactly. Which sounds, well, potentially self-destructive, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Then we circle back to Linda at the grave. Still can't cry. Keeps thinking Willie will just walk up.
It's heartbreaking.
And then that line about the house payment. Today, dear, and there'll be nobody home.
Just wow.
This huge goal they worked for, being free of debt, finally achieved.
And it's completely hollow.
Yeah.
Meaningless without him.
Right. What does that focus on the house payment really underscore for you?
Linda's emotional state, that paralysis, it's just devastating. The not crying suggests such deep shock, disbelief. Her mind just can't absorb it. And focusing on that final payment, it highlights the tangible thing they both struggled for so long, a shared dream of security. And now it's here, but the cost was unbearable. It just underlines all the sacrifices they made and the cruel irony of getting there, only to find it empty without the person she shared that dream with.
And the ending itself? So powerful, so ambiguous. Linda saying, we're free, over and over, while she's sobbing.
Yeah, the contradiction.
And being helped away by Biff, then Charlie and Bernard, then finally, Happy leaves. And all that's left is the flute music.
Right, the flute.
And the stage direction says the hard towers of the apartment buildings rise into sharp focus. What do you make of that final image? That freedom against that stark modern city background?
Oh, it's intentionally layered, I think. Deeply resonant. Linda's free. Well, you can read that so many ways, can't you?
Yeah. Free from debt. Willie's free from struggle.
Maybe. But the sobbing just completely undercuts any sense of real liberation, doesn't it? It feels like a hollow victory at best. And the apartment buildings rising up, that symbolizes the impersonal, maybe crushing modern world, the very environment that perhaps made Willie feel so inadequate. And the flute music returning that's always tied to Willie's nostalgia, right? His memories of a simpler, maybe imagined past. It creates this stark contrast with the harsh present. It emphasizes the gap between his dreams and how life actually turned out.
Yeah.
It leaves us really thinking about the true cost of chasing that American dream and how ambiguous the freedom they finally got really is.
So yeah, as we step back from this really short but incredibly packed scene,
Yeah,
we're left with so many loose ends, so many questions.
definitely.
These really sharp, conflicting views of Willie's life, whether his dreams were right or wrong. Linda's just profound, almost incomprehensible grief, and his son's clearly heading down very different roads.
Now, what really stands out, I think, is that split between Biff's disillusionment, his criticism of his dad's dreams, and Charlie's more empathetic view, understanding the pressures Willie was under. It forces you, listening, to think, which side resonates more?
Right.
Is it Biff's harsh take, Charlie's compassion, or maybe, like in real life, the truth is somewhere messy in between?
Yeah, probably. For me, it's Linda's focus on that final house payment. That detail just keeps echoing.
I know what you mean.
It's such a concrete symbol of all those years of struggle, and now its finality is just empty because he's gone. Makes you really think about what we all strive for, and what actually gives life meaning.
Absolutely.
So a final thought for everyone listening, something to maybe chew on. What does this glimpse into the end of Willie Loman's life suggest about success, about identity, about how one person's dreams, fulfilled or not, ripple through a family? Does Charlie's defense kind of absolve Willie in your eyes? Or does Biff's critique hit closer to home? It's definitely something worth pondering long after this deep dive wraps up.